Hi there, good afternoon, and welcome to today's masterclass. Hope you've had a good day in school so far. What we're going to take a look at today is we're going to focus and just have a little think about how we use tags to classify and build up that picture and to gain more insight. So, interesting when we take a look at the tags, obviously it's fairly simple to kind of use and apply them. But in actual fact, I want to start today by showing you how we can use them and what the impact is. So we're going to start on the dashboard and just have a little think about what those tags can actually do. And I think if we start to appreciate and understand that, that can then influence how we use them when we're setting up walks and so on. So I'm here on my dashboard, and this is all time. So you can see up here that I've toggled it across to all time. What we can then do is start to have a little think about what the whole school picture looks like. So obviously here we can see what the timelines look like. So currently it's around 3.2 in my school, if you like. The average is 3.11, so it's fairly favorable. I can see it's fairly consistent. We've got a few little ups and downs, but by and large, the outcomes are around and about there and they're pretty good. So that gives us a little bit of an idea as to what the context in. I will put in a little disclaimer as well that my data tends to be a little bit more erratic than most because it's a demo account. So don't read too much into what my school improvement profile is saying. So if we take a look at that and then we head up to the filters, now we know that we've got the default filters, which are obviously subject specific, but what about those tags that we've created? And that's, the dashboard is the best place to be able to use those when we set something up. So if I come down to here, so for example, if I come down and select down here, disadvantaged, what I can then start to see is the difference between the whole school context and the disadvantage. So we can separate that quite nicely. And again, mine's not exactly true because it's not a genuine school, but you get a little bit of an idea as to how that's kind of functioning. And we can see then that we've got a nice upwards trend. It starts around 3 and then it's going up to 3.5. So that's telling me really that those activities that we've done for those pupils where the tag disadvantage is being used is favourable. We can also filter, and it will show down here as well the different tools that we're using. So behaviour and attitudes, learning snapshot, send and a lesson observation there, and that's where we've used that disadvantaged tag. So that's one way of being able to do that. And obviously, the tags that you create are going to be relative to your context, so your priorities and so on. If we pop up here and then we take a different tag, so let's come down here and start thinking about what it looks like for different year groups. We can then start to think about year 6. So up here, you can see again, it's really interesting then to see that the school average again is 3.11, but currently it's 3.4 for year 6. We can again see the different activities that we've been doing here. And obviously, once you start to compare year 6 to year 5 and so on, we can start to gain a little bit more insight. What that's telling us, I guess, is really where we might need to provide support and so on. So as we move across to here and take a little look at my year 6 year group, which is bigger than most. I will say at the minute it's either 5 form entry or we've got a lot of part-time staff. But this is my year 6 profile. So ultimately, I can see really from the activities that we've done whether or not we're in good shape or whether or not there's anything to prioritize and so on. And that's interesting because looking at year 6, it looks like it's in fairly good health. If we clear that one and then start to look at year 5 and have a little think about how that compares, once we bring just that tag up, and at the minute I'm not going by subjects or anything else, I can actually see looking at year 5 that there's some support required. So it just enables us to see quite a lot more by just creating and using that tag as we go along and do our activities. So there's some really quick benefits. And obviously, as we start to move across to the trends and things, I've still got year 5 applied here. We can start to think about adding those other tags, such as book studies or learning snapshots and kind of filter a little bit more. And with the tags also, we could filter by year 5, disadvantage 2. So we can apply multiple tags to the filters here as well. So that's when the filters really start to kick in and they are useful. Obviously, when we're in the gallery as well, we're thinking as we move around the school about the tags there. Let's just clear that one. And so the same principle kind of applies really, I guess, in the gallery. And one of the things that we can do is obviously search and use the tags to be able to kind of present things. And in the same way that we've just done, if we put year 6 in, we start to then see some of those outcomes for year 6, and we can drill down and find out more using those tags. A couple of things to mention at this stage, really. It's important that we're consistent when we tag. So year 6 that I've used there, that's going to be very different to YR6. So in the same way that if you are going to filter by disadvantaged, agree across the team what your preference is. Is it going to be free school meals, FSM? Is it going to be pupil premium, or is it going to be disadvantaged? So it's interesting to think about how you want to classify that and just select the one tag that you're going to use just so that you can use that consistently. But I'll show you a couple of ways as well where we can edit that. So here, it's fairly self-explanatory as to how the tags work. But what if you've just started by taking pictures and populating and haven't really given much consideration to how you classify things? Don't worry about that, because I think it's really worthwhile coming into here and then editing. So if we click into any of the pictures that we've got here, we can then bring up this and then we could add a tag onto here. So if we want to do, and we're using disadvantaged, that obviously helps us to be able to kind of add that extra layer of insight. So feel free to get into the gallery and click around, add tags so that you've got more insight there. And as you start to kind of use this, you'll start to think more about those tags and how you can set those up. Another couple of things which I would suggest here, which can be useful, is if you've got some school improvement priorities where you want to use a tag or create a tag for those too, whether or not it's kind of like objective 1 or whatever, or let's say, you know, we are covering SMSC and that's a priority, or that's an AFI from inspection. We could then start to tag certain work with SMSC. So whether or not it's a piece of RE, or whether or not it's you know, an activity, I don't know, painting, or whether or not it's a video clip. If we tag SMSC, then ultimately we can bring that up and then we can share those things in response to that target and that objective. So it's quite interesting to add tags in that sense and that way as well. So how do we add them? Just you know, we've looked at the back end really there, thinking about how we can use them and what purpose they serve. And as you start to populate it, you'll start to be able to play around with those things and gain more from the system using a tag. But what's the best way and how can we set those up and use them? Well, first of all, if we take a quick look at any activity that we set up, down here you can see where I've added tags. So that gives you a bit of an idea as to what the focus may be. And that's really useful just at a glance. If I click on all there, you'll see as we go back into sort of historical, the work that's been done or completed, or, you know, the whole retrospective, you can see the tags that we've added. So if we want to create a new activity, learning walk, whatever it may be, then here's the opportunity to add a tag. Now, typically, I think the best way to start with tags is to add year groups. If you're going to do sort of short, quick visits, key stages are obviously okay, you know, or if you're a big school, you might have upper key stages and lower key stages, however you want to break it up. But ultimately, if you add tags that are year specific, then that's really helpful. And it really helps to kind of refine that data. And the click and go, which I'll come to in a minute, is a great way to be able to do that. So in here, I'm going to do a book study. I'm looking at the year 6 books. In here, I would add the tag year 6. And as you can see there, it's presenting that as well. So it's consistent. And once I add that into the system, it's all set up and ready. So your tags will be different to mine. That one becomes predictive once you've put it into there. So if I want to add another one to say that in my school, SMSC is a priority, or PSHE or RE or any of those kind of things, that's interesting, then we can obviously create that one, and that just means that everybody can use it that way. We are going to put in a couple of controls shortly, which will allow you to go into there and remove. The priority user will be able to remove any duff tags that you've put into the system. But as long as you're sort of clear when you're getting moving and when you're using the system, on using them consistently. So you can get the idea really as to how we can add those there. And those tags can be really useful when you're setting up these. But again, a little bit like the last one, if you've got any activities retrospectively where you want to tag them, you can still open them up. You can still edit them. You can change them from complete to in progress, and then you could add a tag in there. So you can always add tags. I mean, actually, I don't think you have to do that. I think you can leave it as complete, but yeah, yes, you can. And you can still add a tag. So if you want to go into any of the older ones, click on it, add a tag there because you want to refine that, then that can be helpful too. So as far as kind of the click and go, and I think that this is a good way to really kind of streamline things. So let's not forget that with the click and go, what we're able to do is perform short visits, which allow for quick feedback for our colleagues, which is really fantastic for that kind of like individual lesson visits. But at the same time, we are still building the big picture. So I think this is really the benefit here. So although it may be, it's not standalone. That's what I'm saying, because in actual fact, it's not that you do it, complete it, share the evidence, and then it's expired. In actual fact, all of the insights from every little click and go visit that we do will go into that bigger database. And as soon as we go into here and start to add tags, it obviously helps with that process. So again, if I come into here, perform a learning snapshot, go see Clovis, this is a science lesson, and then add the tag here to say that this is year 6, then fantastic. That is the best way to be able to kind of refine that so that those insights go to the dashboard and you get the idea from there how that would look and work, and how we can control and build that picture there just using the click and go and those individual visits. Okay, I'm going to conclude things and I'll leave the chat open for a minute if anybody's got any questions around tags. Hopefully it's a useful session. I think that the tags are really think of them like you're creating an extra filter, a bespoke one for your school or setting, or with the I think with the photos and things like that. You're spotlighting an attribute. You're showcasing something that you've spotted. So on a piece of writing, you're tagging with fiction, non-fiction, clauses, handwriting, phonics, all of those things in that piece of writing, like moderation, that you want to tag to be able to showcase then and bring those up in the gallery. Hopefully that's been helpful. It's fairly infinite. We could talk a lot more, but I'm going to wrap things up there just as we're getting to 4 o'clock. If there's any questions or anything else, I'll close my camera, leave the chat open for a minute, and then you can pop them into there. But otherwise, hopefully we'll see you next week for the next masterclass. Have a really nice evening. Bye now.